Aloha and good afternoon. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the Hawaii News Now Digital Center. Thanks for tuning in to this special live stream. Happening right now, the governor is expected to discuss the details of a recent climate change lawsuit. We have
Will
a
follow
camera crew
promptly
there. Let's
after
send you live to the state
conclude.
capitol.
Without further ado, it is my privilege to welcome up Governor Josh Green.
Aloha, everyone. Aloha, student leaders, community leaders. Thank you guys for being here. Today's a great day for us, for our administration, for the state. We're lucky today to do two things. We're going to sign an agreement. Essentially, we're going to recognize our agreement with those who brought the suit to make our environment better, to be safe going forward, to have a leadership position where we work together, especially with our young leaders who are passionate about saving this planet. And we're also going to sign some legislation specific to our climate. And so we have some of our, in fact, several of our legislative leaders who have fought for session after session to do the right thing by way of protecting our climate and our planet. So today is fantastic. We're gathered to talk about these bills. We're addressing the impacts of climate change today, and needless to say, this is a priority because we know now that climate change is here. It is not something that we're considering in an abstract way in the future. It is absolutely here in the moment. As we move into summer and it will be humid and the temperatures will rise, we have this realization that just a year ago we had a tragedy, in large part because of the impact of climate change. The dire effects of climate change were seen on August 8th when we had a wildfire that was also churned through our community by the tail end of a hurricane. So we're going to remember that, and we're going to respect those who fight the good fight, and that's the people that we're with today, so that our future isn't bleak like it was on that terrible day. In 2003, we signed several bills together to combat climate change and work towards our zero emission goal of 100% clean energy by 2045. And 2024 was a continuation of these bills. I didn't share this with our colleagues, our younger colleagues today, but I was lucky when I first came into the legislature back now 20 years ago. I was the sponsor of the bill that set us on to the path to move towards 100% renewable energy. I was one of 6 legislators that submitted bills that year to do it, and they've built on that and gone much further and done much more than I could have ever dreamed we would do. But we have to continue this fight. So today we're going to sign bills to further protect our environment. The two bills I'd like to highlight today are first House Bill 2020, which broadens the definition of renewable energy producers. It's used to determine the BLNR, the Board of Land and Natural Resources disposition on public lands for renewable energy. And that's what we want. We want to move completely to renewable energy. How we get there is the challenge, right? How we get there, in my mind, is the battle that we all have to fight. And we have to use data the best we can to get there, and that's what we're committed to. According to DLNR, evolving renewable energy technology now is taking us further. It's helping us, of course, with solar. That's been extraordinary. But we want more public lands to be leased to help with generation of renewable energy. So that's one piece of legislation that I'll talk about a little bit more maybe, but we'll have our legislators unpack for us perhaps later when we go to questions too. And then House Bill 2390, which requires the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, to explicitly consider the effects of the state's resiliency on fossil fuels on the life cycle of greenhouse gas emissions, to really look at it every moment of every day and find out whether or not we can move more aggressively away from oil especially, which is quite terrible. I grew up in coal country back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania many years ago, and I can tell you the impact on the environment was catastrophic for so long. They gradually moved away, amazingly, from fossil fuels to a degree, not like Hawaii, but it's a very different place now for the better. So that's important. The bill also gives the PUC the discretion to waive an assessment for energy projects that do not involve the combustion of fuel. In other words, the most progressive and improved ways to get cleaner energy, they can begin to move us quicker. So I believe this is going to help us with our ratepayers. That is something we're always thinking about also, because people have to afford to still live in Hawaii. But we have to be mindful and we have to conserve. We have to actually use less energy if we're going to meet our goals. All of these things are meant to push that PUC. I know it sounds very wonkish, but the Public Utilities Commission has to work with us to make these changes. So I'm really, really grateful that we're passing these bills, and I'm going to sign them. And I'm also going to give a few remarks on the settlement. Okay. Right now. So let me talk about the Navahina climate litigation. Oh, you do the signing first? Okay, forgive me. Okay, come up for the signing, then we'll move on to the real exciting part of the show today. Okay. So anybody that would like to come. So this is House Bill 2020, and this is the reduction of gas emissions discussion that I just had. So thank you guys for this. I got. Oh, you can take this. I like low and a lot though. So yeah. This is our renewable energy bill. I'm adding more approvals for the public utilities, provided they get us where we want to go. And then finally, this is Senate Bill 2537, talking about the Chief Energy Officer, who we're very fond of. And he's one of our stars. Thank you. All right. Okay. We're supposed to give these to
Legislator and
Mark, thank you for doing something.
Last photo right here. Take a group photo.
Right here, ready.
3, 3, 2, 2.
And 1. Let's hear from you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Roll call.
Okay. Thanks for the work. Okay, and sorry, I didn't mean to get too ahead of myself, but I was excited. Okay, so just a few moments ago, we were sitting over in the conference room, and I was lucky enough to be with the very group that has been suing the crap out of me for the better part of the last couple years. Thank you for that, all right? Thank you for understanding that this is not a straightforward process a lot of the time. And thank you for working with my team of guys and women that are in the Attorney General's office, and I'm going to mention in a second Ed and our energy director. But I appreciate the experience of this collegiality, because the only way we're going to actually improve our environment is to work together. That really is true. So thank you for joining us. We're going to, I want to mention some special guests from our Children's Trust and Earth Justice. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Okay. Great. And so we're announcing that we've reached settlement with Navahine climate litigation stars. That's you guys. Okay. Raise your hand if your last name is Navahine. First name, oh, son of a gun, much better. Yes. And I wanted to comment, and I did comment with the crowd, that as a father, I often think about the world that we're leaving for our kids. For me, it's Maya and Sam. Maya's 17, Sammy's 14. And much of what my generation took for granted, like drinking from a hose outside or making enough from one job, 9 to 5, pay rent, that's not possible right now. Things are so different. I shared with the young plaintiffs that I appreciated their advocacy and their strength this last several years, because I was lucky enough to work on environmental causes when I was 17 and to work on the impact of acid rain and climate change then. And so our generation just hasn't done a good enough job to control what happens in the atmosphere and how we're destroying our ozone. So they're fighting this fight. And that was what this lawsuit was about, although I will let them speak for themselves more eloquently. We are the most isolated landmass on the planet. We're too dependent on fossil fuels. We're vulnerable to climate change impacts like sea level rise, coastal erosion, extreme weather events as we saw in Maui, coral bleaching, which is devastating to the fauna that are in the ocean. So it's very important that they stand up for the future. We've set ambitious goals to decarbonize our economy, including, as we've talked about a lot, the 100% renewable energy goals and electrifying our ground transportation fleet by 2035. These are important things to take up, but they are certainly not the whole story. Our Hawaii State Energy Office, and we love Glick, he's terrific actually. They've published a decarbonization strategy for us to help us reach those goals, and it includes a lot of what we've been talking about, guys, like reducing consumption, incentivizing our fleet, working with Department of Transportation, encouraging hotels to also change the way they do things with their fleets, changing the way we do inter-island travel. It's very carbon intensive without a doubt. So I'm just proud to be here with you. You guys are passionate. We're going to talk with youth like Riley and Pahonu. They threw a volunteer youth council on climate mitigation adaptation, our leaders, just straight up. And we're encouraging everyone outside to follow their lead. There's a climate change portal where we will put information, and we will honor those who have been a part of this process to put their materials there too, climate.hawaii.gov. It has resources, but those resources can be improved and augmented by the superstars that we have, which is you. So we're celebrating the settlement today. You had great lawyers. You have actually people who believe in what you're fighting for. So it's groundbreaking. You're the first in the country, I believe, in a state to succeed. And I hope that others will follow this lead. I will tell you, I get a lot of emails from Michael Wilson celebrating what you're doing. And though you guys are more mature than him, I will tell you that you have a great ally in that retiring justice, okay? And so you have a constitutional right to fight for life-sustaining climate policy, and you have mobilized our people. In this case, Ed Sniffen, who I feel is one of our strongest workers in the state, and he, believe me, will be a powerful partner with you going forward as you share ideas with him and you share what you believe deeply. So thank you for this battle. We are grateful that you stood up and filed suit back June 2022. Fortunately, it was against David Ige and not me, technically. I'm just here to finish the job with you guys, humbly. But we're going to be glad to hear from some of you as plaintiffs, Native Hawaiians, and people who are passionate to save this planet. Thank you, Ed. Where's Ed? Right there. Thank you for working with this group of exceptional people. It's our kuleana as government officials, as elected, appointed, as leaders, to listen. And we're listening. So again, thank you. You have done something special, and I will sit down and hear the real experts now. Aloha.
Mahalo, Governor Green, for opening up today, this historic day. Up next, Andrea Rogers, Deputy Director of U.S. Strategy for Our Children's Trust, co-counsel for the Navahine plaintiffs.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Governor Green. I'm Andrea Rogers, Deputy Director of U.S. Strategy for Our Children's Trust, and one of the attorneys on the Navahine versus Department of Transportation lawsuit. I'm honored to be here today to announce this unprecedented settlement agreement that is truly one for the ages. Thank you first to the courageous 13 youth plaintiffs who have led us to this day, and whose advocacy and tenacity inspired Hawaii's 3 branches of government to come together to uphold and protect their constitutional rights to a livable climate. Thank you to our plaintiffs' families, to our 10 amazing expert witnesses in this case who dedicated their time and tremendous knowledge, to our local partners, and our deep, deep gratitude to the leadership and innovation of Governor Green, of Director Sniffen, the Hawaii Attorney General's office, without whom this historic agreement would never have been possible. The settlement agreement represents transformative change towards the protection of young people's constitutional rights to a livable climate. Our Children's Trust began this work with youth to secure their rights in Hawaii 13 years ago, first with a petition for rulemaking, and then in partnership with Earth Justice in Navahine versus Hawaii Department of Transportation. the world's first youth-led constitutional climate change case focused on stopping climate pollution from transportation. All these years later, youth plaintiffs and their government have achieved an unprecedented settlement agreement that recognizes that youth do, in fact, have constitutional rights to a livable climate and that their voices matter. Under the agreement, the state of Hawaii will develop a holistic roadmap to fully decarbonize the state's transportation system, taking all actions necessary to achieve zero emissions no later than 2045 for ground transportation, sea and inter-island air transportation. Importantly, the agreement gives youth a voice and a seat at the table with the creation of a volunteer youth council to help Director Sniffen take on this enormous challenge. Hawaii's leadership will offer a model for states and countries around the world to start tackling transportation emissions. This agreement prioritizes innovative transportation solutions that can stop the state's dependence on imported fossil fuels and ensure people's mobility with safe and pollution-free choices. What we see today is democracy in action, with the coming together of all three branches of government, led by our youth, who activated their courts when their rights were in danger. For the first time, all three branches of government are committing to work together to do what they must do, according to best available science, to protect young people's constitutional rights to a life-sustaining climate and to secure for them a hopeful future in Hawaii. Over a decade ago, Our Children's Trust began representing youth all around the world seeking judicial protection of their climate rights. A global movement has developed, and today in Hawaii, we see real progress as we stand in partnership with our allies celebrating this historic agreement. We are so grateful for these young leaders who have devoted their time, their energy, and their positivity to solving the climate crisis and protecting the islands that they love, and to the adults standing with them who listened and acted. I'm honored to turn over the podium to two of our youth plaintiffs, Pahonu and Riley Brook, to share what this agreement means to them. Thank you.
Ea he mai nei ka makani alo pali o kamehame. Mehameha ka leo o ke kupe e o ko ona pou. Pou o hia o na hale mau na ihoa ai ia e lani po. Aloha mai ka ko. Wau no o Japheth Pahonu Coleman. I am Japheth Pahonu Coleman, and I am humbly honored to celebrate this historic agreement with you all here today. This victory we are celebrating is a testament to all who had the courage to step out and make a stand on both sides of this case. Because we, the youth, in this case, had the courage to speak up, and because government officials like Director Sniffen had the courage to sit down and listen. We are here today with an actionable and enforceable agreement that puts Hawaii's transportation system on the fast track to advance key climate solutions, like electrifying and expanding our food network of clean transportation choices. Courage is what got us here. And we don't speak enough about the role of courage in our culture. Our elders had immense courage to set out across the ocean to come here. Our elders like Papa Mau, who took immense risks to perpetuate our voyaging traditions that endure to this day. Without the courage of George Helm and Uncle Walter Riddy and many others, the sacred island of Kaho'olawe would still be a bombing range. Courage matters. And I have learned that courage is something that all of us can muster when we stand for what we love. Let the deep love we all share.
Now, again, you have been listening to a press conference with the state and the youth plaintiffs regarding climate change. And I hate to take you away from this, but happening right now, HECO is starting their press conference on the power outage that continues to impact Chinatown and downtown. Let's listen into that live.
Storm situation. We know it's not okay, and We want you to know that we're doing everything we can to fix it. We know this has had an effect on all kinds of businesses, in particular in Chinatown. A lot of bars and restaurants and lay shops and a lot of small businesses that are really this is having a big impact on them, and it's very disruptive. And that's why I hope everyone has seen our crews in Chinatown working since Monday night. They've been working around the clock. They want to get it done. They want to get the lights put back on. They know that that's what they owe to the community. That's what they owe to our customers, and they feel really important about that. They feel that that's really important. That's why they've been working so hard. So in the next few minutes, we'll talk about what happened since Monday, what we're working on to fix it. We're going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be down in the underground working on that equipment and why that's especially challenging and a unique situation. And then we'll also talk about customer service. I know there's questions people might have around claims and filing claims, so we'll be able to take some questions around that as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rudy Tamayo, who is our Vice President of Energy Delivery. Rudy?
Sorry. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, thank you for giving us an opportunity to give an update of our current situation there in downtown. As Jim mentioned, I am VP of Energy Delivery, overseeing the work that's being performed the last 2 days, including the event we had last week. I just want to share with you where we're at, give a little bit of history, and really give you an understanding where we're at from in terms of the process of restoring. Yeah. First of all, this system was installed in the between 50s and 60s. Yeah. The intent with this system is really to provide a reliable system for the financial community, where there's backup circuits being fed off of one of our substations in the area. The system is really a network of what we call manholes, and typically these manholes are 6 feet by 4 feet by 6 feet, where our cables connect through manholes to manholes and then ultimately serve customers from these manholes. And it's really a network throughout the downtown area, hence we call it the network system, providing service, reliable service to the area. What I wanted to do is really kind of outline the chronology a bit of what have happened on Monday night. We suspect there was a fault in the manhole there on Bethel Street that propagated to a fire. In that manhole, we have multiple circuits, high voltage circuits. That feeds that whole area. It's like the gateway to that to the downtown area. Unfortunately, we're still doing the forensics to figure out what initiated, but we do know that it was some kind of electrical failure that propagated to a fire, and then subsequently causing collateral damage to equipment within that manhole. If you can imagine that this manhole is 4 by 6 by 6 feet, and there's gases from the arcing and so forth, causing an environment where explosion, a flash arc to occur, and anything within that area resulted in the damage we see here. Immediately we responded and make sure that the circuits were de-energized so we can safely work with the first responders, so we can safely extinguish, and then more importantly is to assess and figure out next steps to restore. We started that Monday night, and that continued through the morning and early Tuesday morning. What we found out that majority, if not all, of the cables in that manhole was impacted by severe arcing as well as burning from the fire. With that said, it took time for us not just to secure the manhole. Most of our manhole have they're underground, so there's a process to create a safe environment for our crews to go in there. So number one, there's a dewatering process to make sure it's clear of liquid and debris. And then we create an area where we can lay down and actually have our crews to go in to inspect. Yeah. Upon inspecting, we found out there was a significant amount of damage in that manhole. So we proceeded with the cleanup, understanding what circuits needs to be prioritized to be restored. We focused on the primary circuits that feeds the major parts of the system. And then subsequent to that, we our plan was to follow up with the secondary that would feed a majority of the Chinatown area. We were able to restore, of the 3,000, 2,400 that day. And that was off of our what we call Fort Street circuit. That was about 2,400 customers. And then we had the remaining 600 that we continue to work on. That includes completing our primary work as well as what we call secondary that feeds the smaller customers. Things were going well last night, and unfortunately we encountered a problem where we had one of the new splices failed, causing an arc. And we had to stand down. And when I say stand down is whenever there is potential hazards in these manholes, we evacuate and we have our operation folks turn off the power. And then we can go back in and figure out what happened. Now, prior to this, we put all steps in place in terms of protocol, safety requirements to ensure if something does fail, that our workers are safe. And we did that like any other job, and that really was important because it really concentrated the fault to one area and keeping our people safe as we evacuated. Sorry. So unfortunately, we caused another outage for those customers that we previously restored. We did redo the repairs, and we were able to restore them today, but we're still working on the rest. And the hope is sometime we'll get that portion restored as well. I want to add, though, is working in this environment is very difficult. I've been in this industry for 40 years and been with Hawaiian Electric 34 years. This kind of work is the most difficult work that our folks have to encounter. Our folks who work in this areas are very specialized, and you can see as we look at the equipment, it takes many years of experience for them to be able to do this kind of work. And for the last 24 hours, 2 days straight, we rotated our experts in restoring and redoing the necessary repairs to restore service to our customers. I want to add too is, it's although we're focused at the manhole area, this extends out. And part of the process, we actually had to pull out hundreds of feet of cable because the ends are severely damaged that we had to pull new cables. That reel there represents what we had to pull out. That within itself is a challenge. if you can imagine the conduits where these cables reside, being also burnt and damaged, and trying to pull this cable out. We were able to do so on the primary side, and we were able to restore, as of now, all of our primary circuits, restoring power to those customers. So we're still faced with the 600, and we're hoping that we can get that resolved timely. We're still working out the details in terms of that restoration, but we can probably give you an update later on that. I would like to add to, we continuously respond to problems, and we continuously upgrade our facilities. And we actually have plans to upgrade the system, our network system. We will be accelerating that. We're doing work at our major substation right now that feeds this whole area. Work continues to replace one of the major transformers as we speak, and we're hoping to get that installed in the next few months. And that will restore capability of the substation to serve that area. But we will continue to look for improvements so we can secure the system and continue to provide that reliable power to the folks in downtown and our customers. What I'd like to do, though, is, and we'll give an opportunity after to go through the materials if you have any questions, what this represents, and any other questions you may have. But I just want to say that, for us, safety of our employees is number one, and safety of our customers is also number one. So when we do this work, those two things are in mind. And remember, we have to interconnect our system to their property, and we want to make sure and ensure that they too are safe, and we do the work properly with due diligence, as well as make sure that our plans are solid and really address any potential risks that might occur. Safety is number one, as you can imagine, and I'll introduce Kale Manakea, who's our safety manager, what that entails. But imagine when we had that flash last night, we had 4 linemen in this 4 by 6 feet tall space, confined space, performing the work. So you can only imagine how difficult this work is under those conditions. But I'm so proud of our folks that they're so committed these last 2 nights in really wanting to restore power to the community, and they know that they rely on us, and every one of our folks out there in the field is really committed, and I'm reminded that whenever I do a follow-up with the team. With that, I would like to introduce Manakea Kale Manakea, who is our safety manager, who is a former lineman supervisor and working in this group for many years. Kale.
Good afternoon, everybody. Kale Manakea, the safety manager for the island of Oahu for the last year. But previously, I've been with the underground section for 15 years, and here at Ward Avenue as a lineman for 15 more years. So 30 years in the field. And I was kind of asked to shed light on what the guys are going through in these holes that they're going into and stuff. You can kind of smell what we got to deal with all of this time. Like Rudy said, 4 by 6 hole is only this big and it's 6 feet tall. So I remember working in that hole, and the whole night I would have to squat down like this so I wouldn't hit my head on the roof. So I guess it was designed for people that were shorter than me. But that's the kind of stuff that the crews are dealing with. We're splicing, and to get the most efficiency, we're putting maybe 2 or 3 guys in that hole, and guys are up against the wall trying to splice in corners like this, just so we can get the most efficiency out of our guys. And like we've been mentioning left and right, the men just want to get the power back. A lineman is like a fireman, just waiting to get out there and put the fire out. We're same way. We want to get the power back to everybody out there. Other conditions we deal with, it might be high tide now, so water starts to seep through the ground, and we're sloshing through water, maybe about 2 or 3 inches. Some places around other areas, maybe a foot deep, that we put pumps in to keep water out. And we're all doing this, and they're still staying safe by using our gas monitors. We want to make sure that anything we do, there's no flammable fumes coming in that we can get out of the hole. Other things we got are we're pushing air in there to push the air out. We also got all our rescue equipment there in case anything happens, like last night when they kind of had a little flash, but it was all covered by protective equipment in the hole. I just want to say that I live on Baratania, Nuuanu, and my power keeps going off and on, off and on. I was almost late for work. But yeah, I'm a casualty of this fault too. So that's about all I wanted to share with everybody. Okay? So let me turn it over to Jim again. So, thank you.
Thanks, and I'll bring up Brendan Bailey, who is our Vice President of Customer Service.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so, over the past 4 days, our teams have been speaking with very many customers. And we understand the personal and financial pain that this outage is causing for our customers. And we just want everyone to know that we're working as hard as we can to fix the situation. We know they're struggling, having to close their business, loss of goods, loss of food product, that sort of thing. And what our customers really want, they've asked us for information. And I just want to share that we're pushing out information, as soon as we get it. And I know that's probably not good enough for many, but we are trying our best to push that information out. So I would encourage everybody to, monitor our social media. We are in direct contact with many of our customers. Just based on the sheer numbers, we can't directly call everyone, but we're trying our best. If you need to get a hold of us, our customer service representatives are always available. You can reach out to them, and we can handle whatever questions you might have. I did want to share that we do have a claims process. So if a customer has any damages or loss that is related to the outage, they can submit a claim. That information is on our Hawaiian Electric website. All the information you need to submit a claim you can find there. Or you can call our customer service reps again, and they can help you, direct you to the information that you'll need to fill that out. I will tell you right up front, it's a process. We won't know right away whether or not claims can be paid, but it will definitely go through the process. We'll look at each claim on a case-by-case basis, based on the facts of their individual circumstances, and that process will eventually run its course. But I did want to level set to make sure everybody knows that those determinations won't be made right away, especially given the fact that we're still investigating the cause of these outages, which we need to determine that first before we can process those claims. And that's all I have. So I'll hand it back to Jim.
Okay, you guys, don't go too far. I'm sure we'll have some questions now. So let's start. Who wants to go first? Gina. Rudy, I'll let you take that hit, but I think it's pretty unique.
Yes, this downtown network is unique to Hawaii and only on this island. And it was really initially built to serve the financial community. similar to on the mainland. They have that. Obviously, they have much broader customer base regarding their financial districts. This is unique to Hawaiian Electric, the network. Now, we have similar equipment, but the way it's configured is unique.
Hey, Ben. The claims, and I wanted to mention, so people have 30 days after the outage to put in a claim. So I know some folks are still out now, so they have 30 days. It isn't something they have to rush at. There's a form on the website, and it talks about electronic equipment and things like that. I would tell people that if you've had a loss and you want to put in a claim, just fill it out the best you can, and we'll figure it out on our end. As Brendan said, we look at each one of these individually, not as a group, and so whatever people feel like that they suffered a loss as a result of the outage, just go ahead and put that in. Sure, fill it out with I want to be clear, I'm not saying that that's all, those are all items that are then going to be approved for a claim, but and certainly people should check their own business interruption insurance. A lot of businesses have that covers that sort of thing. So, but I'm sure everyone is exploring all of their options right now. Yep. Hi. No. If a claim is approved, then that's just something that we would, pay out. It doesn't have anything to do with the bill. Yeah. Oh, maybe Darren's got more information.
So customers' bills are based upon the electricity that they use. So when a customer is experiencing an outage, they're not using any electricity, so they won't get billed for any electricity during the duration of the outage. And that applies in any outage situation. Yeah, I'm going to refer that to.
Oh,
sorry.
It depends on what the situation is. For the most part, it's kind of a case by case. In some instances, it is paid out of ratepayer money. Yes, we could have done better last night with information. We were trying to figure, as Rudy talked about, it was kind of a fluid situation. We were trying to, first of all, figure out if anyone was hurt. We were trying to figure out if these guys could safely go back into the manhole. It took quite a long time for the manhole itself to be safe to the point they could go back in there and see what was going on. I think one of the things that we've been asked about is, and this is tough, people want to know when the power is going to go back on. And I know we put out information saying, well, we think it's going to come back on at such and such a time. And then it gets delayed and it doesn't. And so we're trying to be careful about, honestly, after 4 days, we're being very conservative about estimating when power might be restored, because we don't want people to make plans based on, a best estimate at this point.
Once again, you are listening live to a news conference with HECO officials addressing the ongoing power outage in the Chinatown and downtown area. As you heard, now crews are doing the best they can.
Like all of our system, we have what we call protective devices that we can hone in where the fault might have occurred and actually look at the process as the fault developed. We're looking at that data now. We have protective devices that traps that information. We'll be looking at that in terms of chronology as well as context. All the equipment here in our underground facilities are designed as submersible. So yes, now any changes I don't know, but it was designed for submersible applications.
And I've again been reminded that I have not been repeating the questions as they've been asked, so everybody can hear them. So I'll try to do better. We're pretty certain that it was something within the system, and we're not suspecting any foul play at this point. Yes? I don't want to stand here and tell people what they can put a claim in for and what they can't put it in for. I think they should fill out the form as best they can and submit it, and then someone will get back to them. I think probably, I mean, we really actually haven't had many claims so far, I think, because there are still people that are out, and so they've been waiting to see the duration of the event. So we give people 30 days to file the claim. I don't think anybody should be anticipating an immediate response on the claim. Yes, the question is, would we consider bringing in generation equipment to help some of the small businesses down there? We've actually looked at that, and we've actually, we feel like by the time we get that done, that we will have the additional 600 restored. And so it's somewhat complicated to bring. It adds another degree of complexity, and to bring a generator in and having it sit in the street to the size that you would need to run some of the business. But we have looked at that, yes. I think we were all hoping earlier in the week that this was going to be a relatively short duration event. And so with each 12 hours that went by, we were hopeful that that was going to be it. And unfortunately, we're here on Thursday, and it's still going on. Yes, it is the second in 2 weeks, and we're still looking at whether that original outage on June 13th is related to the one this week. Yes, well, the question is, what can we do to provide more reliability to the downtown system on a short-term basis? And that's what Rudy was talking about. In addition to, once we're done doing this work for the restoration here, the underground crews and others, our engineers, everybody in this building, they're looking at the entire downtown system and looking for opportunities to see if there's any equipment or any sort of situation that looks like it could lead to another outage. We're looking to see if we can adjust, make upgrades, repairs, and as Rudy also said, we're working on a long-term plan that's probably going to involve replacing a lot of the infrastructure downtown, because as he said, a lot of it is crammed into very small spaces. It's not how, if we were going to design it today, how it would be designed. Oh, hi. How often do they do that? How often? The question is, how often do our crews go around and just check the system and check the manholes to see if there's anything out of place?
we do have an inspection program, underground inspection programs. Now, with that said, what we experienced here was not visible. Obviously, it was a failure of some device or component that we couldn't have seen with the naked eye. We do monitor with temperature instruments, and we do that to ensure the ones that we cannot see, if there's any abnormalities of temperature differences that might indicate a potential problem with these places.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I guess yes. No, that's okay. No, I don't have a count on exactly how much. How much are we spending to fix this? No, we haven't calculated that, but I just want everybody to know that we are sparing no expense. We're putting everybody who is available on the job and putting all of our resources toward this. Yes. Right. The question is, what do we say to customers? There's an expectation we're going to keep the lights on. There have been a lot of incidents this year. What I would say is what I said at the beginning, which is we know this isn't okay. We know people are counting on us, and we know that we've let them down. And so we are working to make sure that our system is as reliable and resilient. We talked about our wildfire safety strategy a couple of weeks ago and our public safety power shutoff program. All of that is about keeping our community safe, and we've got to do that at the same time we're keeping all of our system reliable and resilient and able to withstand storms and other events like this. And we want people to know that we know they count on us, and we're out there, we're doing whatever we can to keep their trust. Yes. You guys, what is the specific timeline for restoring the additional 600 and updated? What do you think, Rudy? I've been hoping someone was going to come up and say, late breaking news.
We are really progressing well this afternoon. I'm hesitant because I haven't touched bases with the field on progress, but we have great progress since this morning. I don't know, and I can't really speculate at this time, but I do say that we had some good progress this mid-morning till now. I think the hope is today sometime, within a time frame of today, yes.
Gina's looking skeptical.
Yeah. Yep.
Question is there any situation where Hawaiian Electric has paid for loss of business revenue or those kind of claims? I don't have any information or background on that. But again, I don't want to be listing the things that people can or can't put in for. We know every situation is unique, and that's why we look at every situation, in a unique way. The first thing we have to figure out, as we talked about before, is what was the cause of the outage, and then we'll look at every one of these claims as they come in. All right, well, here's the part where everybody can have some fun and look at some of the equipment. Rudy, can you walk them through that? If you guys want to come up and take a look at that.
Yeah, I would like to also acknowledge our union leader, Leroy Stincho of 1260, who's been very supportive of our work and really supporting our members and our crews to really, push hard on this, and so we thank you for your support, Leroy. So, fair warning, I do have towelettes to wash your hands. If try not to touch. I'm not saying you can't touch it, but if you really want to get your hands dirty, there's a lot of stuff and soot on these components. So,
Tell them kind of what's in the boxes here.
sure. So, the first box here are what we call the splices. Yeah, and you can see there's multiple cables going into that trunk of splices. These two. This here, the third box is what we call our secondary cables, which was also damaged during the fire. And then there's additional splices on that pallet, first pallet. And you can see, how significant the damage is. And a lot of this almost instantaneously, because this flash and propagate is a super high heat, almost plasma, and really almost incinerate a lot of the components. We had some components that just crumbled in our hands. The next is really a pallet of additional splices and segments of the conductors. That reel there is what we had to pull from a manhole that was where the fault occurred to another manhole because the cable was so damaged within this manhole that there was no way we could repair it. There's probably 200 feet or so, and a set of 3. Yeah, so there's over 1,000 feet of cable there, end to end.
Come on over.
So you have been listening to that news conference with HECO officials regarding the ongoing power outage in Chinatown and the downtown area. Our crew there at the scene is getting a closer look at some of the technology used in the underground systems that HECO has been discussing. The big takeaway from this news conference is that there is still no clear timeline for the restoration of power. At last check, about 600 people are still without electricity in and around the downtown and Chinatown area. And if you are not impacted by the power outage, this is still important to know because so many of those customers without power are small businesses, restaurants, bars, lay shops. So many of these businesses require electricity for refrigeration to keep their food cold and frozen. So this is really having a large impact on the businesses in downtown Honolulu. There has been a growing plea or encouragement for people to go and support those businesses as soon as they reopen. Again, HECO officials are saying they don't know exactly when they will restore power. However, they are trying their very best to work as quickly and safely as possible to restore the power to that area, hopefully within the time frame today. It could be later this evening. It could also be pushed back to early tomorrow morning. There's just no clear timeline for when this will be resolved. HECO again saying this started as a result of an underground fire on Monday. They've made some significant progress, but in the days since, there have been equipment failures underground and arcs that have set them back. They obviously want to make sure that safety is top of priority for their crews working there underground in these small and cramped manholes, but they say they are working as safely and as quickly as possible. They also encourage the small businesses and residents impacted to file loss claims through HECO. We have information on that on our website. They did not go specifically by saying which items are or will not be covered in the claims. However, they say if you feel you have lost something, go ahead and fill out a claim with HECO. They briefly mentioned a lot of tangible items like electronics can be claimed. However, we know a lot of the questions for these businesses is the monetary loss for their items. You know, they've spent thousands of dollars on inventory, fresh food, flour, drinks, all of that. And there's a lot of question over whether or not those items will be covered. So we will be continuing to keep a close eye on all of this, and we have a crew live at that scene, and we'll be providing any updates to you as we get them on air and online. Be sure to have your Hawaii News Now mobile apps downloaded to your smartphones, and we will send you any push alerts and new web stories as we get them. I'm Dylan Ancheta in the Hawaii News Now Digital Center. I thank you so much for tuning in.